Thanks, Carl. It's nice to be here, and thanks to Rachel. So I am really bad at promising to do stuff and then forgetting it, but not really meaning to lie to people, but just because life. So I promised Carl like 19 times that I would show this slide deck. So before I forget to show this slide deck, I'm going to go ahead and put this up here because this is really, really important to Carl. And Carl is really, really important to me. So this is what I'm supposed to put up here. So I'm supposed to put up here that I don't have any financial interest in any organizations that might be a conflict, and I have no conflict of interest with financial support, and that the the bias has been identified and there were no biases, and that I was given a copy of the College of Family Physicians of Canada's Identification and Management of Conflicts of Interest and Transparency to Learner. Are we good, Carl? Are you a happy man now, Carl?
Yeah.
Carl is now a happy man, and I am a happy woman because Carl is a happy man. So that is what kind of the business thing that I have to get done is we're going to kind of move into this idea of these challenging situations for people living with dementia. So my name is Melanie Bunn. I'm a registered nurse. I have been working with people living with dementia throughout my career. This is my calling, this is my work, and it's my ministry. So this is really what the focus of my career has been. I also want to introduce my friend and colleague, Rachel. Rachel, do you want to say hello?
Hey there. I'm Rachel and I'm from Oklahoma, although currently I am in Michigan visiting some dear friends, and I'm really glad to be here with you.
Thanks. So Rachel said she's in Oklahoma. I am in North Carolina. So when I was talking to Carl, it's like I'm much closer to the hurricane than y'all are, but it looks like I'm going to be okay for the next 2 hours, which is really what y'all are concerned about anyway. So I'm going to be fine for the next 2 hours. We're going to talk about challenging situations. So Carl told me something interesting. He told me that this was like a really highly requested session, that people were really interested in this talk. So yay, I love that. I'm really curious about what your questions are, or what are the challenging situations that you're experiencing in your practice that cause a situation we're going to spend 2 hours of your precious Thursday evening with me and with Rachel and with Carl, kind of trying to explore this issue. So I'm going to ask you to just go ahead and drop into the chat, and Rachel's going to help me watch. Carl might even help me watch. Just drop into the chat what drew you to this topic, or what are some of the challenges in the situations that you are experiencing within your practice, or within your life, or within your situation, within your company. So just go ahead and drop into the chat. What are some of the things that you want to talk about tonight? Because I have some flexibility. We have 2 hours we're going to spend together, and I would like them to be 2 hours that really mean something to you. So while you're kind of doing that, I'm going to pull up another slide deck, and you'll see this one looks a little bit different. This one actually is the Positive Approach slide deck. So this is the company that Chica Snow founded. It's really based on brain change and dementia, and we want the whole world to have skills, and we want the whole world to be knowledgeable and to be aware and to be competent. So Carla's going to send out the slides. This might be another place to look for the slides as well, and they're here for a couple of weeks. Coping with challenging situations. So the objectives for this session, by the end of these 2 hours, we hope that you're going to be able to list 6 factors that may be used to determine what might be contributing to challenging behaviors, or as we call them, challenging situations. And by the end of the 2 hours, we're hoping that you're going to be able to discuss the value of knowing who you are as a person, who the person living with dementia is as a person, what their history is, and how that really impacts our relationship and how that really impacts our communication. We also want you to be able to describe and use communication in an empathetic and supportive way when you're with a person living with dementia, and hopefully that will reduce some of those challenging situations. And we want you to be able to demonstrate and describe some techniques that are not just going to manage things when they go badly, but actually are going to start to kind of maybe reduce the incidence of those things going badly. So that's kind of what we're going to try to accomplish in the next couple hours. So I did that to give y'all some time to start dropping things into the chat. And all of a sudden, wow, Rachel, it looks like things are changing in the chat. Did you do something?
I didn't.
Did you do?
But Carl did, and so now we can chat. So we're all happy.
Yeah, it looks like Zoom updated about 15 minutes before the session, and it looks like it changed the chat feature a little bit. So I just had to fiddle with it, but it should work for everyone now.
Oh, so we're good with chat then.
Yeah.
So one person said that I believe she had two sisters who are living with dementia. And another person said challenging situation of medication administration, client refusing meds, driving cessation, repetitive asking how to get license back. For folks early on in their dementia, how to help them move forward with understanding what's going on and how they can move forward with diagnosis, getting support, etc. Caregiver burnout, managing family, the care,
Okay.
how to manage aggressive behavior and yelling.
So some things about drive,
Hospice,
some things about getting people to get support, care partners getting some support, dealing with some of those common kinds of things that happen. And are you seeing other things, Rachel, as well?
yeah, there's inappropriate sexual behaviors in acute care, risk behaviors, aggressive behaviors of spitting, hitting, kicking, etc., especially with the COVID isolation in rooms, that kind of thing.
Okay, great. So I'm going to, those seem like a lot of the kinds of things that I'm particularly interested in. And they're really consistent with a lot of the things that that we were planning to talk about. So I'm going to go back and share my screen, and I'm going to put this up, and I'm going to get rid of that so y'all can see. Take a minute. These are the ones that came loaded on the PowerPoint of the kinds of things. So look at some of those, see if some of those things kind of overlap with some of the things. Some of the things came up were more specific. Some of the things were much broader. Those are some of the things that came into Tifa's mind when she kind of created this PowerPoint. And I think there are a lot of kind of overlap, kind of similarities with those kinds of things. So just take a moment and look at that. And we'll go ahead and get kind of started. So I'm a nurse practitioner. I'm not practicing as a nurse practitioner now, but I'm practicing as a consultant now. So whether as a nurse practitioner or whether as a consultant, people call me when things don't go well. It's mostly when they call me. Very rarely do people call me and say, hey, things are going great. Yay, good job. People mostly call me when things aren't going well. And I kind of look at it from my mind that they're kind of three big categories. And we're going to talk about 6 because some of these split into some others. But I think about 3 things. I think about things about the person living with dementia, things about the care partners, and things that are going on with the environment. And when people call me, if Rachel were to call me and say, Melanie, I'm really worried, and give me one of those scenarios, Rachel. my person won't stop driving, or my person keeps asking for the car back or their driver's license back, or my person won't take her medications or his medications. Ask me one of those questions, Rachel.
So Melanie, I'm trying to help these people, and they just won't take a shower. Like, I need them to take a shower, I need them to get dressed, they need to eat, they need to go to the bathroom, and they just refuse, and they won't take their medications either. And I don't know what to do because we've tried everything and it's just not working.
You've tried everything and it's just not working. So I'm going to throw myself into Rachel's brain just a moment, and I'm going to guess that most of what Rachel wants me to fix is the person living with dementia. That mostly what Rachel wants me to make or to get or to give the magic words or the magic pill or the magic to get that person living with dementia. Because what you want, if you'll unmute just a minute, what you would really like, Rachel, is for that person to take their medications, right? Or to accept that bath, or to accept that care, or to do, we need the person living with dementia to change. So I'm going to ask y'all to drop into the chat as we look at the things that are controlled by the person, that belong to the person living with dementia, if you think we're going to really be able to change a lot of these. So this is the first one. So this is what's really happening to the structure of the brain. So the brain here on the left is the brain of somebody who died from an accident, and the brain on the right is the brain of somebody who died from Alzheimer's. So just to be clear, these are autopsy photographs. These are not computer-generated images. These are not drawings. These are really photographs. So just drop into the chat real quick. What are our two or three or one, maybe one thing you notice that are different between these two brains? What do you think is different between these two brains? Just drop that into the chat.
So we have shrinkage, less volume, size, gaps, color, change in size and color.
Y'all are absolutely right that the three changes, the brain on the right is actually a third of the size of the brain on the left, because as those brain cells die, they collapse. The brain on the right is darker because as those brain cells die, there's debris and there's inflammation. So that's a very irritated, inflamed, distressed brain. As those brain cells die and they collapse, fluid fills in around those brain cells. So it has that really shriveled up kind of look. And the crevices are much deeper and the spaces are much deeper. And it's not just happening from the outside, it's happening from the inside as well. So this is something that happens to the brain. This is particularly Alzheimer's brain, but this is why when we think about people living with dementia, we're really thinking about brain change. And even for y'all, the other language that I'm going to give you is the idea of brain failure. Now, y'all of all the people I work with probably know really well some things that happen to other organs of the body. Y'all work with people with congestive heart failure. You work with people with kidney failure. You work with people with liver failure. You work with people with those kind of organ failures. So I have a friend here with me in my kitchen, and this is my role play partner part of the time. So Rachel is my preferred role play partner, but I can't put my hands on her. She's so much closer being in Detroit, but I'm still frustrated that you're still not quite close enough for me to be able to grab you. But this is my role play partner when I need to grab somebody. So if this person has congestive heart failure, am I likely to go up to this person and go, Chimchar, breathe better? So Rachel, do you want me to be a nurse for your member of your family if I act like that?
Nope.
You don't want me to do that. You don't want me to do like that. Because, why would you not want me to do that, Rachel?
Because that's not helping the person at all.
It's not helping the person at all, because if this person has congestive heart failure, if he could breathe better, he would what?
He would breathe better if he could. It's not for lack of trying or want to.
If he could breathe better, he would breathe better. So if he's not breathing better, it means he isn't. So when I go up to Chimchar with kidney failure, let's say kidney failure now, and say, go kidneys, go kidneys, go, filter that. Would I do that, Rachel?
You better not.
I better not. Have you ever seen me do that? No, I would not do that. Why would I not do that?
That is not helping at all. That's not the problem. That's not going to help. That's just, that doesn't even make sense.
It doesn't even make sense. And so when we approach people who are basically in brain change or brain failure, what kind of things might we try with them? So let's see what might happen. So Rachel, you are my friend or my family member. You're my friend or my family member. And you walk into my bathroom, and this is what you see happening.
Melanie, what are you doing?
I'm doing it. Yeah.
Here, give that to me. That's not right.
No.
Melanie, calm down. That's not nice. Be nice.
No.
Hey, give
You
that to
hussy
me.
tramp.
Melanie,
No.
Melanie.
Get out of here, you hussy.
Melanie,
I'm gonna
calm
pause
down.
it. I'm gonna pause this. So drop into the chat what just happened in that situation. What did you notice? So Rachel, what did you notice?
Well, someone said agitation, confrontation, shock, reactive behaviors on both sides. Good observation. Fear, patient becoming violent. That would be you. Defensive. She looked scared. Rachel's response made things worse. Didn't affect the behavior. Oh, now I'm threatening you. Reactive. Trying to tell someone to do something they can't really control anymore with brain failure. Confused. Reactive to the person saying no. She tried to change the behavior of the person with dementia. It didn't work.
So it sounds like they don't really like either of us, Rachel.
We're both in trouble.
We're both in trouble. So so I'm going to go back to the power for a minute, and I'm going to point out a part of the brain. So we talk so much about dementia. We talk so much about, if you will, put your fingers right here. You know, this is the memory part of the brain. This is the hippocampus down in there. There's plenty of talking about that. It's important. We should talk about that. And another time, maybe we will talk about that. And right now, I'm just going to point out a different part. And the part I'm going to point out right now is right back here. And this is that occipital lobe. That's why they pay me to do this on Zoom, is I can say things like occipital lobe with rhythm. So this is the occipital lobe right back here. And so what that does is it's where vision is processed. So information comes in through my eyes, it goes back, and it's actually processed back here in my occipital lobe. So we could talk about all kinds of different things that happen through, but what is happening here is that this gem state, which we call the amber gem state, what has happened is my brain is losing the ability to know and understand what things are. So I can see them, but my brain is really having lots of trouble interpreting it. So I was in my bathroom, and actually, you know, if you notice, as bad as the toilet brush is, you know, it makes my hair really shiny if you look at it. Doesn't my hair look really shiny? It does make my hair really shiny. So in my bathroom, I have several things. Somebody said something about it being a clean toilet brush. I invited a friend over for dinner, and I have this this cup on my table, go heels. This cup on my table have all these things in here. And she noticed the toilet bowl brush. And she said, do we have to eat at the table? Because I think we could eat somewhere else. But these are all my personal, they're clean. They've never been in my bathroom, actually. So what do you think? What do you notice that's similar between these three? So just drop in the chat. What's similar between these three items that I have in my hand?
They all have bristles and they're all brushes.
They all have bristles. They're all brushes. What else is similar about them?
They all have handles.
They all have handles. And one more thing that's similar about them.
There's a similar shape and they all brush. They're all used in the bathroom.
Yeah. So they all have brushes. They all have handles. They're similar shapes and they're in the same place.
And as someone pointed out, they do have a cleaning purpose.
They have it's kind of like that question on one of the cognitive screens. What do these things have in common? And it's like a thermometer and a ruler. They all measure things. So these things have a lot in common. So what is the difference between these three is kind of what we use them to clean, right? So this one is used to clean teeth. This one is used to clean my hair. To brush my hair. Brush my hair, brush my teeth, brush my hair, brush the toilet. So people got all upset about this because, Rachel, why did you get all upset about this?
That's a toilet bowl cleaner. Like the brush thing, like that's what you put in the toilet. Like you can't do that in your hair. That's got germs and it's gross and it's not good for your hair. Everyone knows you don't do that.
So it's gross and it's disgusting and it's probably not good for my hair. And if you're my daughter, have you ever seen me do anything like this before? So this moment of you walking in and me doing this, because I'm the mom who popped you on the behind with this when you used it. This is the moment where you kind of have the moment of life is different and it's not good. So it might mean something emotional, right? But in reality, take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Do this with me. Aware. Risky. Dangerous. So aware just means I need to pay attention to this. Risky means I really need to focus on this. It might be, and dangerous be. This is imminent. There is an urgent issue there. So Rachel, drop into the chat, folks. Drop into the chat. Did Rachel respond to me like this was something that it was an aware situation, a risky situation, or a dangerous situation?
One said risky, one said aware, another said dangerous.
So
immediate threat, dangerous, danger, aware.
So Rachel really responded to me, and I think while we're getting a range there, Rachel responded to me like, this is a real problem, right? But in reality, was it a real problem? Because what's the worst thing that's going to happen if this is actually the toilet bowl brush that is used in the toilet? What's the worst thing that's going to happen? And you can drop it in the chat. What's the worst? You have to wash my hair. I might have poop in my hair. I might have germs. My hair's dirty. But you know what's also true about hair? Hair washes. So when does it really turn from, so we're fine. I'm fine when I'm doing this. Who really created a situation where it went from aware to risky to danger? Who really created that situation? Just gonna drop it in the chat. They're blaming you now, Rachel.
Lots of Rachels.
At first, they said I was being, what did they call me? They called me aggressive, and they were calling me all kinds of names. And now it's switched a little bit. So that's what happens when we let different parts of our brain do different jobs. Because what happened is this was so shocking because it was different and it was gross and it was disgusting and it was nasty. Everybody's brain went, ah! And so people responded with, ah! When really, is it a really big deal? So is this in itself really dangerous? And even I can keep up with all the no's. So what made this dangerous? What made this become a weapon?
The reaction, the
So-
escalation.
So your reaction to it made it a weapon. Do you think you can do better?
You can always try.
Does anybody think Rachel can do better? I have confidence in you, Rachel. Yeah, because as soon as Rachel goes for this becomes two things, right? This now becomes what? When you reach for it, Rachel, what does this now become? Mine. This now becomes my most prized possession because you're trying to take it away from me. And this may be the only thing in my life I can control right now. And so you trying to reach for this makes this my most prized possession. And it also becomes a weapon. And let me ask you something, Rachel. As much as you hate seeing me brush my hair with it, how much are you going to hate it if I pop you in the face with it?
That makes it even worse.
Yeah, you would rather have it in my hair than on your face, right? Right. So let's try something different because they believe in you, Rachel. They believe in you. They believe in you. So let's try something different. But Rachel, what's the first thing you're going to do when you walk in?
I'm going to stop.
Okay.
And pause.
So notice Rachel do that because what are you going to be doing in that stopping, pausing time, Rachel?
I'm going to breathe and I'm going to think.
Rachel's going to breathe and she's going to think. Okay, so let's try it again.
Melanie!
Wow, look at you, sweetheart.
Hey, oh, you're busy.
Yeah, I've got to get this done because we got to do it. Yeah.
Oh, you got to do it. Hey, Melanie.
Yeah.
There's one right over there. Look right over there.
Well, yeah.
Oh, there's that one. And then another one. There should be one more.
Well,
here, I can hold that one.
You want that one?
There you go. Yep.
All right.
And then there should be a bigger one.
Well, this.
There you go. Try that one. See how that works.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, there you go. That's it.
Well, that'll
Nice job.
That'll be the way. Yeah. Okay. Alrighty. So I'm gonna pause this. So I'll clean the hair out of those later. Ooh. So how did that feel to you, Rachel?
It's a lot more work for me, but I thought that it went a lot better between you and me because you didn't get upset. In fact, you actually laid the toilet bowl one down without me saying anything, actually.
So I'm going to push you a little bit. So it was a lot more work for you when?
To try to figure out what to do once you had the toilet bowl cleaner or the brush. What do I do? And how do I try to move you to something else without getting you upset?
So it was a lot more work initially, but ultimately, what do you think? Do you think it's going to be a lot more work or not as much work?
At the end, it's a lot better. So it's worth it, but at the beginning, it takes more work because then I actually had to stop, and for me, it's work to stop.
Okay, so you had to really shove your amygdala down. So everybody do this with me. Put that danger up here, put that danger thumb up here, And I know I can't see you. I wish I could see you, but it works out for this particular thing for me not to be able to see you. So put your thumb up like this because I believe you. Now put your hand right here on this part of your brain. So this is your amygdala. This is your fight, fright, flight, hide and seek. This is your dangerous. It's bad. This is your prefrontal cortex, which is the part of the brain that uses your logic and your reason and your ability to kind of come to a good decision based on all the important information that's available. So now take this part of your brain and use it to shove that part down. Because when you're in one of these situations, you want this part of your brain to be in charge instead of this part of your brain. Because this part of your brain makes decisions based on, this is dangerous, I need to protect. And in this situation, is it really this is dangerous, I need to protect? Or is it, I need to be logical and reasonable about this? Yeah. So drop into the chat, what did you, so much better, so much better, so much better. And so Rachel actually got me to trade the brushes, and that is really good. And now I still like her, which emotional memory, talk a lot about different kinds of memories. We don't necessarily talk about emotional memory. But now at the end of this interaction, just drop into the chat. Do I still like Rachel or do I not like Rachel?
Melanie, someone made a good point that it keeps trust alive in the relationship.
So it keeps the trust alive. It keeps us connected. It keeps our relationship working. So dropped into the chat. Do you think I still like Rachel? Is Rachel likely to be able to get me to do now that I've got to wash my hair? How hard is it going to be for Rachel to wash my hair in that first scenario? When I'm upset, she's upset, and I don't like her. And probably at that moment, did you like me very much? So I didn't like Rachel. Rachel didn't like me very much. She still loves me, maybe. I still maybe love her, but we didn't like each other. So that's not going to go well. Versus, how much time is it going to take for you to help me wash my hair now if I like you? Which is going to actually be easier for you, Rachel.
So Melanie, you're getting an interesting question in the chat.
Okay.
So what is the risk from using the big brush instead of the smaller hairbrush? Why make the risk of making an issue about it?
Yeah, exactly. So if you couldn't get me to stop using this, so this is, I think the thing people are mostly worried about is this is used in the toilet. So this is used to clean the toilet. So I think that's why people were really concerned about it. And this is mostly used to clean teeth. So I think that's why people weren't really excited about me brushing my hair with the thing I scrub the toilet with. But Rachel, in taking that second approach, if you weren't able to get me to transfer to this brush, would you have made a big deal out of this?
No.
No, you wouldn't have made a big deal.
Because I'm actually in that moment, I'm able to think through, is this really, really dangerous? And even if it is a dangerous tool, like even a knife, how are you actually using it? Because in the first example, I am the one that made it dangerous, even though it's not. But even if it was a dangerous, whatever it was that we even say it was a dangerous thing you were doing, but now I've made it even worse. Whereas this one, maybe I can connect with you and monitor it, but I haven't escalated the situation.
So you can connect with me, you can monitor it, and you can ultimately kind of make it better, right? And so eventually we're going to do what? Eventually we're going to leave the bathroom. Eventually we're going to probably leave all of these brushes in the bathroom. And then we might go out to do something. We might go out in the yard, or are you going to try to, after we get out of the bathroom, what are a couple of things? Write in the chat, drop in the chat. after Rachel gets me out of the bathroom, what are a couple of things that she might want to do? What might Rachel want to do after she gets me out of the bathroom?
So people are saying remove or hide the toilet bowl brush. Another person said redirect to another activity.
Yeah. So we
There's
might
a lot of remove the toilet brush.
brilliant. Brilliant. I think it's brilliant. And so we're going to remove the toilet bowl brush, and people are saying go do something else. So let me ask you, what kind of activity might we do next that might kind of lead to me needing to take a shower and wash my hair? So what might we do to kind of make it so it makes sense for me to now take a shower and wash my hair if we think that might be necessary? So what kind of activity might we do?
Someone was saying maybe garden, rake leaves,
Yeah.
got a nice outfit.
Yeah, so let's go work outside. Let's do something. Let's get hot and sweaty. Let's go for a walk. Let's do something. North Carolina, the majority of the year going outside is associated with getting hot and sweaty. And so now it makes sense for me to go take a shower. So nice. So thank you for going through that with me, Rachel. I really appreciate that. So let's move on because, we still haven't solved our big problem. We still haven't, which is really what happened. So people always want to change me and the things about me. We've got the structure of the brain. We've got things going on with the chemicals of the brain, which we can change, but maybe not in an intentional, productive kind of way. We've got things about different types of dementia. We can't change those at all. We've got where I am in my gem state, so we can change those, but maybe not in a way that can really be very helpful. So the idea that when Rachel comes in and she wants to consult with me or she wants my support in changing me, that's really not going to be very likely, because in this situation, our ability to make this situation different didn't really depend on the person living with dementia. Our ability to make this situation different when things didn't go well really depended much more on Rachel and much more on the environment. So let's look at how is kind of a different way of organizing those. So what we unpack is 6 pieces of the puzzle. So when you put these 6 pieces together, you get a deep understanding of what's really going on in this situation. So we've got a couple of ways to look at it. I'm going to use this way of looking at it. So look across the top. We've got 3 things that really belong to the person living with dementia. And those 3 things that really belong to the person living with dementia are things like the person's health and wellness. So just drop into the chat what kinds of things, when you're thinking about challenging situations, you're thinking about a person living with dementia, what kinds of things might you really want to know about their health and wellness and fitness that might make a difference in kind of how we understand these challenging situations. So go ahead and drop some of those in the chat.
Maybe their eating habits, their medications, pain, mobility issues. If they have chronic pain, poor vision, hearing loss, what their background is, their values, and what's important to them. Do they have any condition that causes pain? What's their past medical history?
So I should have expected a hospice group to. One of my favorite things to talk about, one of the most important things I ever talk about, It is pain in people living with dementia. How do we understand it? How do we manage it? How do we make a difference with it? I'm so glad y'all did that. So I said I'm a nurse practitioner. I said I get calls. I got a call one day to go to, this happened to be an assisted living facility, and what they said on the call, so I answered the phone call, and they said, "Hi, Melanie, this is so and so, so and so," and they said, "We're calling about Mrs. So and so. You need to give her something." So does that sound like a familiar call that some people have heard before? I've heard that call a lot. I've made that call in my practice, in my life before. In my nursing practice, I've made that call. So it struck me weird because I'd never gotten that call about this particular lady. So I went to see this lady and I watched what she was doing. And she was walking around. She walked up to a group of people who were sitting there and she said, hey, I saw you out there having sex with that man. Right out there in the hall, right in the middle of everything, and right in front of the whole group. I saw you out there having sex with that man. And then she went to the next person and she said, and you were sitting there, you organized the whole thing. You got them all together. You told them to come and get it. And then she looked at the third person and she said, and you're the one who paid for the whole thing. And so you can see why they called me, because that was something that was really unusual for her. That was something they had never seen her do before, and they didn't like it. So they called me. So I walked around with her for a few minutes. I walked around with my lady, and I spent my time agreeing with her. Not that they're tramps and hussies, because I didn't know that, but I spent my time agreeing. You are absolutely right. This is not the way this day should be going. And I used some magic words. These are so important. I'm actually going to get you to write them down. Write them down on your hand or on your calendar. Write them down somewhere, because the magic words that I used were, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. You are absolutely right. This should not have happened. It should not have been like this. Now, am I sorry? Yeah, I am sorry. I'm sorry that she's got dementia. I'm sorry that she's having a rough day. I'm sorry that everybody's feelings are hurt. I'm sorry for all of those things. I'm sorry doesn't mean that I did something wrong. I'm sorry means this isn't right. This is not right. So I said, I'm sorry. And I said to her, tell me more. And she said, they're all there and they're there, and it's not the way it's, and you were right. And so finally we got enough I'm sorry. We've got enough to tell, and we kept walking, because what do people tend to want people who are distressed, who have dementia? What do people tend to want them to do? So Rachel, if you have dementia and you're distressed and I tell you to calm down, is that going to work or not work for you? That's not going to work for you. Are you sit down and be quiet? Are you going to be, when you're upset, can you sit and be quiet and you don't have brain change? So I walked around with her, and we walked and we walked and we walked, and I finally got her to sit down. And she sat down and she crossed her legs, and blood dripped out of her shoe. Now, I've been a nurse a long time. I've done a lot of stuff. I've seen a lot of stuff. And whether you're a nurse or whether you're a social worker or whether you're something else, whether you've been in healthcare for a little while or whether you've been in healthcare for a long time, whether you're not in healthcare at all, that's just not something you see, is blood dripping out of a shoe. And so I was able to get her shoe off, and I figured some things out. And I reached out to the staff and I figured some more things out. And what we ultimately learned was she had a roommate, and her roommate's shoes were about a size smaller than hers were. So she got up in the morning and she put on her roommate's shoes and she started walking. And so she spent all day walking and walking. And as she walked, those shoes rubbed into her skin. Shoes rubbed in, the skin rubbed in, rubbed in, rubbed in. And so it got to the point that there had been so much tissue rubbed off that her feet were bleeding. Her shoes had a lot of blood in them. When she crossed her legs, the blood started dripping out from the shoes. So take a deep breath. Did she need something? Did she need something? And if she did need something, what was it that she needed? Is it what they originally asked for, or is it something else? What does she need? And just go ahead and drop that in the chat.
She said she needed wound care or someone to notice the pain.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe her own shoes.
Yeah. So she needed medication, and she needed some skincare, and she needed help to really look at what was happening. Now, I'm a nurse. I have been a nurse for a long time, and I would love it if people would walk up to me and say, "Oh, Melanie, pardon me. I have impairment of my skin integrity. Would you please initiate the skincare protocol?" I mean, that would be lovely. But with people living with dementia, communication isn't always that kind of language. So one of my pet peeves, do y'all have pet peeves? I have pet peeves. One of my pet peeves, and I teach Duke ABSN students, and I love teaching them. I love working with them in clinical. And I hold them accountable for things like she can't communicate, when what they really mean is not that she can't communicate. What they really mean is she can't use language, because she can absolutely communicate. He can absolutely communicate. What that person might not be able to do is to use language. So in this situation, and it could just, I told you a story about pain because pain is it's really important to me. But I could have told a similar story about somebody with COPD and shortness of breath. I could have told a similar story with somebody with GERD, a different kind of pain. I could have told a similar story about somebody who has other kinds of acute or chronic kind of conditions that could create that. So gotta have that information. And who needs that information? Is it just the professional team, or is it that everybody needs to know those kinds of things? I'm going to say it's pretty much everybody needs to. So the next one, so that's health and wellness and fitness. The next one is, what do we know about the person? So what do we know about the person? So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to show you a video clip. So I am going to show you, this is my friend Tipa. That is me. And I'm actually going to show a video clip of me interacting with Tipa in a role play. So what I want you to notice is, what can you pick up on about Tipa as a human being? What do you pick up on about Tipa as a human being? So that might be her personality, that might be her likes and dislikes, that might be her history, that might be what kinds of things she her learning styles. It could be anything. But take a moment and just notice. I'm actually going to play it through twice. I'm going to play it through once one time just watch the clip. It's really short. Just watch the clip. And the next time we're going to watch it, noticing things about Tika.
Yeah, Tika, honey. Al, you want some coffee? Nope. All right, well, let me know if you want some. Yep. All right.
Excuse me,
Yeah?
can you get me some coffee?
Want you? Yeah, I'm glad to.
Well, not, that's my cup.
All right.
They're the stupidest people.
So, just a little clip. Now you see some things that I did, some things that Tifa did. We might come back and talk about those later. I'm actually going to change what I was going to do. Take a moment and just based on that clip, write down some things that you noticed about Tifa from that clip, because I'm going to show you another clip, same kind of situation, and let's see what you can add to the list of things that you picked up, things that you noticed about Tifa.
Hey.
Hey,
Hey. How's your coffee doing?
that's mine.
Yeah, it is your coffee. Looks like you're out.
I'm fine.
Let's go.
Back a little bit. I didn't.
Tika, 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 Tika. Hey.
Hey,
Hey. How's your coffee doing?
that's mine.
Yeah, it is your coffee. Looks like you're out.
I'm fine.
Let's go get some coffee. Come on.
You go on and get coffee.
All right, so Tika,
Yeah,
some coffee?
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Let's go.
Yeah, you should go.
Tika,
What?
do you want me to get it? Or
Yeah,
wanna
you
come-
get it.
Okay, all right, give me
You
your
get
cup.
it. No, you go get it and bring it.
I thought you wanted some coffee.
I do.
Well, let's go.
Just never mind.
Come on.
Don't come on. Just get out. I don't like
I
you.
thought she wanted some coffee. She usually likes coffee.
So, first of all, just kind of drop in the chat. What are some of the words you might use to describe Tifa, or what are some of the things you noticed about Tifa in those two little clips?
Well, people were saying that maybe she just wanted company while she was drinking her coffee. She's possessive of her mug. She seems grumpy, removed, doesn't really want to engage.
So,
Maybe wanted to be brought the coffee, being directive, worried about cleaning the table, focus on cleaning, possessive about her mug, don't touch without asking. Someone said she has a good sense of humor. She guards her space and she wants it clean. She likes to have control of her space. She's anxious, possessive, and loves coffee. Loves to keep things tidy. She wanted to keep wiping the table and didn't feel comfortable with you taking her cup. Very bold. She was quiet, and maybe your energy was a bit much. Self-soothing behavior and likes her property.
okay, so lots of things there about Tifa. That she likes her stuff. She doesn't like people touching her stuff. Are you thinking she's more, so she likes to be in control of her environment? Do you think she's somebody who is usually busy, or somebody who spends a lot of time just sitting and staring into space? What do you know about her? What you feel like you notice about her? So she likes to be
Busy. Must be a retired nurse. Can't keep still.
actually an OT. So, but they're like that as well. We're all kind of, so some things you noticed about Tifa. So, yeah, so a lot of things. So knowing that about Tifa is going to be really important, right? So, Rachel, are there any things you want to add that you know about Tifa from these clips?
I was thinking people are saying OCD, but the being in control in her space and having things done her way is also very important to keep in mind.
Liking to control her space, liking to have things the way they are supposed to be is really important. So we were mainly focusing on Tifa. So hold on to that experience, because I'm going to go back. I'm going to share the screen again because we're going to kind of look at some of
Chica.
the other pieces of this. So some of the other things that are in here are things like who is the person as a person? Who is the person as a person? Things like their history, their personality traits, their likes and dislikes, their values. So you can start to see Tifa likes to be busy. She values being active and engaged and in control. She doesn't like people managing, controlling her space. So those are some things about Tifa that are really important. So let's move over to this next one and start thinking a little bit about what might be going on with Tifa's brain change. Because if we were just to if Tifa were somebody who we were providing support to, would you necessarily think brain change dementia about Tifa, or might you really start thinking something else? What kind of labels might Tifa get? So we had OCD on there, but what other kinds of labels might Tifa get as a person? She's so, and just drop it into the chat. She's so
Unfriendly, grumpy, antisocial, independent, anxious, hyper, aggressive, particular, angry, workaholic, crazy, meticulous, resistant to care, difficult, independent, defensive, sensitive, baby bipolar, PTSD.
So lots of kinds of things, but nobody put there they thought Tifa might have some dementia as part of her brain change. I wonder about that. Do you think there's any possibility that maybe Tifa might be experiencing some very, very early brain change? So people are starting to put some yeses, and she does have it. This is a pretty common presentation, a pretty common kind of approach. And some of you are doing my next question, which is drop in there some of the things that make you worry about brain change, some of the things that might be some symptoms of brain change. Yeah, you thought it was understood given the topic. Yeah. So what are maybe some hearing changes? So she liked the visual cue. She didn't recall asking for questions. So personality. So the question about amplifies personality, it kind of can depend. So if I am a person, it depends a lot on those other 5 pieces, those other 3 pieces of the puzzle. So it depends on what is my environment, what in my environment is supportive, what in my care partners or my stakeholders is supportive, and what in my understanding of or the way my time is managed is really important. So we're thinking that Tifa's got some challenges going on, and we're thinking that because of that, I, as her care partner, am not really going to be able to change her structure of her brain. I'm not going to be able to change intentionally, purposefully, directionally the chemicals in her brain. I'm not going to really be able to change her type of dementia. And I'm really not, I can change her gem state, but not really intentionally and directionally. So if we look at the other pieces of the puzzle, the health and wellness belong to Tifa. Her personality and her history belong to Tifa. The brain changes belong to Tifa. Down here at the bottom, these are really the things that maybe I can impact, or maybe I can, as a person, really begin to change. So look at some of those. We've got things like time use and the people or the stakeholders in her life and things about the environment. So I'm going to move forward, and we're going to talk about these a little bit individually. So let's talk about this fourth piece. Let's talk about things that are part of the environment. So what did you notice about, was there anything that you noticed about the environment of the place where Tifa was? What did you maybe notice about the environment? To drop into the chat, what did you notice about the environment?
It was pretty sparse. Cold looking, trapped behind a table, empty, minimalist, too institutional, sterile.
Yeah. So there wasn't a lot in that environment to kind of tell her what to do or not, or what not to do. So some of the things we look at with environment are things that might be meaningful for that person. So we look at the 4 F's. And the 4 F's of the environment for people living with dementia, we talk about, is the environment friendly? Is the environment functional? Is the environment familiar? And is the environment forgiving? So can you drop those into the chat, Rachel, for me? You're doing that already, aren't you? You have that look in your face and that look in your eye that you're dropping those into the chat. So we've got familiar, forgiving, functional, and friendly. Familiar, forgiving, functional, and forgiving. So was that environment particularly meeting those kinds of things? It was functional. Okay, so give it the benefit for that. It was functional. It did kind of sort of what it was supposed to do, but not so much. So you kind of wonder if there were other things in the environment. So drop into the chat, how would you change that environment to help make it a little more friendly, familiar, and forgiving for people? What might you add to that environment? What might you change about that environment?
Some people are saying maybe more like home, making it more homey, adding more color, adding more of her own things, pictures, flowers, increase stimulation, ask them what they might like, keep her busy, and more conversation, listening to the person, familiar music. I know earlier somebody had also mentioned actually bringing coffee and visiting and drinking coffee together.
So that becomes part of the environment then. Cool. So I love all of those ideas. Other things, Rachel? Oops.
Oh, there's also a softer and comfortable chair.
So things that make it feel more like a home, because maybe if Tifa had more than 2 things, maybe she might be different than she was in this situation. So a little bit about the environment. So let's move on to another one of those things. And the other one of those things that we're going to talk about is this time issue, this issue of how, is it sharing the screen? Oh, I'm having trouble getting my slide. Let's see. That's what it wanted me to do. So we're going to move to this one. We're going to move, actually, I'm going to go back to this. I like this better for this. We're going to move back to this. So the awareness of time. So I'm going to move this out of your way so you don't have to look at that box. So things about time. So time might be everything from the time of day to the time of my life to how long it's been. So it may be that when Tifa called and asked for some coffee or called and asked for some help, the time between the time she called and the time that I got there felt like so long. She just didn't have any context for what I was really there for. It seems like to me that sometimes people get into a situation where there is now and not now. and there's here or not here. So if you are here, then you're here. If you're not here, you're not here. If it's now, it's now. If it's not now, it's not now. So it becomes that kind of simple that it's either here or not, or now or not. So how we manage time of people living with dementia becomes a really big part of, it's a tool. It's a tool that we can use. So put up 4 fingers. We kind of identify 4 real ways that human beings, and this isn't people living with dementia. It is people living with dementia, but it's not limited to people living with dementia. So there are kind of 4 ways that you spend time. So one way that you spend time is self-care. And that is doing stuff that you have got to do to kind of keep the machine going. So doing things that you've got to do to keep your body running. So take a moment and just drop into the chat. What are some self-care activities that you think Teepa spends time of her day doing? What are some self-care activities that you think she spends some time every day doing? And just drop those in the chat.
Drinking her coffee, washing, dressing, hair, eating, dressing, bathing, cleaning her space,
So
exercise.
So those are some things she does just to kind of, so those are kind of our things too, right? So self-care might be bathing and dressing and eating and eliminating, and it might be all of those things, but self-care might also be some other things. We'll talk about it in a minute. So the second thing that we spend a lot of time, or second kind of category of things, is recreational kinds of things. So recreational kinds of things. What kinds of recreational kinds of things might you think are offered in this environment, in this setting, for Teepa to do? Now, recreational things are things that you do that are fun, things that you do that are interesting and fun, and that you do because they bring you joy. So things that you think, and also drop in there, if you don't mind, some things you might consider recreation.
We've got bingo, crafts, music, watching, TV watching, cards, board games, art, singing songs, puzzles, reading newspapers, games, tea parties, music, exercise, knitting, movies, watching TV, socializing with people, gardening, dancing, reminiscing.
So I want to go live there because that seems like fun stuff. You know, there's a lot of stuff in there that I might really enjoy. And I, of those things, there are a lot of things in there that Teepa might enjoy well, especially some of the sewing and knitting and swimming and those kinds of things. The more recreational kinds of things, the more kind of classic kind of getting manicures and things like that, maybe not so much for her, but those things. The third way that we spend time is work. Now, it's not going to surprise the people on this call, but working doesn't necessarily mean you get paid. So work activities are not necessarily limited to activities for which you are paid. Work activities are things that when you do them, they begin to make motherhood. I love that. Working are things that make you feel purposeful and meaningful and valuable, that your life is productive, and you've got things that you are respected for and things that you are valued for. So drop some of those kinds of things in the chat. So I'm seeing a lot of folding and housekeeping kinds of things. And Teepa's kind of already demonstrated that she is probably going to be the first in line to do that kind of stuff. Do you think she might complain about it? Yeah. Do you think she also might really get a lot out of it? Yeah. So we've got self-care, we've got recreation, we've got work. And the last one is rest and restoration and recovery kinds of things. So drop into the chat, and not asking for Teepa now, asking for you as a human being, what are some of the things that kind of lift you up and kind of help you feel like you're getting some rest? What are some of those things that lift you up, kind of help you feel like you're getting rest? So I see sleep in there a lot, and I see reading and music and tea, maybe even sitting with a friend and having tea, bubble bath, church, meditation, massage. I'm in that group.
Walking nature walks, being in nature.
Yeah, being outside, being with nature. Other things you're noticing?
Time with cats or dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Farmer's market, walking, nice warm bed. I go for that one.
Yeah. So lots of things. So, hey, Rachel, I'm trying to keep up with this, but they're dropping things in there pretty fast. So let me just clarify with you. I didn't see that anybody put waiting down there.
No, I didn't see that either. I mean, there was a lot, but I didn't see that in there.
Okay, so why did y'all not put waiting down there as something that's relaxing for you? Because it seems like to me, a lot of the time that we expect people living with dementia, we call it resting, but it actually really feels like what? Waiting. So what are you getting, Rachel?
Well, we get waiting is stressful. Waiting is frustrating. Waiting makes you anxious. Doing nothing.
Waiting. So how do you think Teepa's going to do at waiting? Teepa's going to be a really good waiter. Yeah, I don't think that's going to be her best strength. So we're going to come back to the fifth piece of the puzzle. And I'm gonna show you that in a little bit, because I want to go through some other things before we do that. We're gonna look at some other things before we go back to that fifth piece of the puzzle. So we're gonna spend a little bit of time talking about some of these care partners skills, some of the things that we think are really important for kind of making connections, some things that we think are really important for building relationships and for really putting us in the right place to be able to support, to be able to have that good relationship. I'm going to have you just look at this slide for a minute. I'm actually going to give you 30 seconds. 30 seconds on Zoom. I'm pulling up my clock. 30 seconds on Zoom feels like a really, really long time. So I'm going to have you actually look at this for 30 seconds and kind of see what this process looks like. I told you 30 seconds seemed like forever on Zoom. So now that you've had a few minutes to kind of read through these things, I'm going to kind of talk about them. So it's pause and actually demonstrate them. So I'm going to rearrange myself a little bit. I'm actually going to demonstrate this with my person here. So it'll involve me kind of setting things up just a second, trying not to knock over anything. So this is my person. I'm going to try to approach him. So I'm gonna get him where he can see, you can see him. I'm sorry, there was a bit of a glare there, but it'll be gone in a second. So I am going to start at public space. So Rachel, do I look like I'm pretty much at public space?
Yeah, I'd say so.
I'm kind of 2 arms length away. It might not be quite 6 feet, but I'm kind of 2 arms away.
So Melanie?
Yeah.
I wondered if you could stop sharing the slide. It'd make it easier for people to see you.
That is a great suggestion, Rachel. Thank you for that. I'm so sorry. I should have done that. So I'm going to start at 6 feet. And again, forgive the glare. And I want to get my person's attention. So I'm going to start with a knock to get my person's attention. And then I'm going to kind of turn my body away from my person and put my hand up. And I'm going to go, hey, it's Melanie. And then I'm going to offer my hand. Now, if my person reaches out, do I have to say, can I come in, or do I kind of have permission? What do you think, Rachel?
I think I'd go in.
I think I do. Now, Rachel, do you think I'm going to be moving really quickly or kind of slowly?
Slower.
So I'm going to be moving slowly. So I get to this point, and I shake the person. And as I shake, I shift into hand under hand, which is kind of like an arm wrestling handshake. Then I'm going to let his hand come on the top. And you notice I also did something else at the same time. What did I do, Rachel?
Sat down?
I sat down. So what's the difference between that and this? Or that and this?
Someone said threatening.
Yeah, I think so too. So we're going to go back to that situation with Tipa. I just can't give up on that coffee. I'm a little stubborn, you know, and I'm a little I have high expectations of myself and I don't want to give up. So I'm going to go back to that situation with Tipa, and y'all had confidence in Tipa. You believed that you had confidence in Rachel. You believed that she was going to be able to do better. I have confidence in myself that I'm going to be able to do something better. So, if we go back and look at this one, let's go back and look at this one. Now, instead of looking at Tipa, we're going to be looking at me. And instead of just thinking about all the things I did wrong, because those were pretty obvious, let's look for some of the things, sorry, that maybe I did that weren't so bad. So let's look at it.
Yeah. Tipa, honey? Al, you want some coffee? Nope. All right, well, let me know if you want some. Yep. All right.
Excuse me,
Yeah?
can you get me some coffee?
Yeah, I'm glad to.
Well, that's my cup.
All right.
They're the stupidest people.
Okay, so even though it didn't go well, drop into the chat some of the things that I did that kept it from going horrible. So what are the things some of the things I did that kept it from being absolutely a abysmal failure?
Well, people were finding things, Melanie, that you sat at her level, used her name, you knocked, you sat down, knocked before entering, walked away, didn't touch without her consent, you didn't rush, you greeted her with an open hand, you said hello in a cheerful voice, you agreed to get another cup, you respected her personal space, you called her honey, you got down at eye level, you didn't invade her space, space is defined by the table, you made it short and sweet, and you didn't argue when the cup wasn't handed over to you.
Okay, so I wasn't horrible. So if we go back and look at this one, Did I get some of these right? Yeah, I kind of paused. I kind of used her name and then did a little bit. So I sat down. So it wasn't a complete waste of my life. So that was that one. Let's go back and look at the other one. And let's see if we can find something to like about the other one. Oops, that's not right. This one. Okay, so let's try this one and see if there's anything about this one that wasn't terrible.
Tifa. Hey. Hey. How's your coffee doing?
That's fine.
Yeah, it is your coffee. Looks like you're out.
I'm fine.
Let's go get some coffee. Come on.
You go on and get coffee.
All right, so Tifa.
Yeah.
Some coffee?
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be fine.
Let's go.
Yeah, you should go.
Tifa,
What?
do you want me to get it? Or
Yeah,
wanna
you
come?
get it.
Okay, all right, give me
You
your
get
cup.
it. No, you go get it and bring it.
I thought you wanted some coffee.
I do.
Well, let's go.
Just never mind.
Come on.
Don't come on. Just get out. I don't like
I
you.
thought she wanted some coffee. She usually likes coffee.
It just get more painful each time you watch them. So drop into the chat some of the things you saw that I did that were better than it might have been if I hadn't done them.
Well, you did find stuff, Melanie. You knocked, you sat down, you had open hands, you didn't argue with her.
So Rachel, what were some of the things? Okay, that's a good one.
You tried to use visual cues.
I tried to use some visual cues. So Rachel, what were some of the verbal communication strategies that you heard me do? What did I try to do?
You tried using her name,
I tried using your name.
and you tried asking her a lot of questions.
And I actually asked her some choices.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want me to go get it, or do you,
You want to get it.
want to get it? So I tried to give her some choices. So that's a good one. We like those. Those tend to work really well, but it still was not kind of right. It still wasn't exactly working for her. So
Well, you also tried to get her to get up and do something.
I tried to get her to get up and do something. I did. So give me one. Will y'all give me one more try? So now they're calling me aggressive. Before they were calling you aggressive, and now they're calling me aggressive, and I can see that. So I'm trying to.
Tifa.
I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I want to do this so I can see. So let's see what happens here. Let's see if this might go a little bit better.
Tifa.
Hey. Hey. How are you?
Good. It's Melanie.
I've already done some things differently there. So go ahead and drop into the chat. Let's look at that just a minute. And what did I do here that was different? I actually did what Rachel did when she was walking in and I had my unique hairbrush. What was it I did? What are they saying, Rachel?
So they're saying that you didn't rush in,
I
that
didn't
you're
rush in.
6 feet away.
I'm
You
6 feet
looked
away.
down.
Mhm.
You said your name, had a calmer approach. You're quieter, you're slower, you waited at the door.
So I'm quieter, I'm slower. So watch how long, all of those things are important. Watch how long it takes Tifa to respond. So the first thing I did is I stood here and I watched her a minute. Because what I'm doing when I'm watching her is I am noticing what she's doing and how she's doing it. Because what I want to be able to do is to match her with what she's doing and how she's doing it. So I stand there for a minute and I watch, and then the next thing I do is I give her a knock knock. Now, even though I'm not actually coming in a door, and I'm not actually, often when I do this, I'm not actually coming in a door. I'm not actually coming in a door. What I am actually doing is getting permission to come into her space. Because when I give her that knock knock, it's asking for permission. So let's see how long it takes her. I'm actually going to time it. I've never done this before, but I'm actually going to time it and see how long it takes her from the knock knock to notice me.
Tifa.
Hey,
Hey.
how are you?
Good. It's Melanie.
That was like almost 4 seconds. So it took her about 4 seconds to really notice me, to kind of process that knock knock and to notice me. And so in that time, I was kind of standing there waiting for her to notice me. So she's now kind of noticed me.
Tifa.
Hey.
So I've got that hand beside my face. So show me how to do this, Rachel. Put your hand beside the face. So hand is like this. Now, what would happen, Rachel, if I did like this? What does that feel like?
I don't know, but it's kind of distracting.
You're not really sure, but it's kind of distracting. And I think it's even more distracting on Zoom because I think it's hard to kind of see it on Zoom as well. But I think that might be what people living with dementia might act, how it might look to them. So I'm not waving my hand. I'm just kind of doing what?
Holding it there.
Just kind of holding it up and not waving. It's kind of overstimulated. Yeah. So I hold.
Hey, how are you?
Good. It's Melanie.
And she says, hey, how are you? And then I give her my name.
It's what?
Look at that. Ha ha. It's a miracle, isn't it? What was I able to do, Rachel?
You're able to connect and actually
I was able
hands.
to connect and actually touch her. Would I have dared to touch her either of the other 2 times?
You better not.
Would not have even tried to touch her the other 2 times. So I was able to get into hand under hand with her.
Well, and you also got eye contact.
I also got the eye contact. So now I kind of walked in. I offer my hand as a handshake. And Rachel, do you think she shakes hand with me because she loves me and she's excited to see me, or something else?
She doesn't look real excited to see you at this point.
So why is she shaking hands with me?
I think it's just the handshake. That's what you do. It's an automatic thing.
So it's using her preserved skills. So this is a nonverbal communication skill that she's able to use because it's so overwired that she shakes hands with me, and then I really quickly kind of slide into that hand underhand thing as it's like 14 things happening at one time as I'm actually sitting down. Now, how much talking did I do while I was walking, Rachel? A lot or not really? Not a lot of talking while I'm walking. So when you're walking, don't be talking. When you're talking, don't be walking. Or to simplify it, walk, don't talk, talk, don't walk. So I came in and I sat down before I answered.
Melanie.
Oh, Melanie.
Yeah.
I'm Tifa.
You are Tifa.
Yeah,
Good.
those are pretty.
You like this?
Yeah, those are nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, they go with the thing.
They match.
Yeah, they kind of go. They're the similar, or there's some other one that goes.
There's some other one,
like the similar, but not similar, something else.
something else.
Yeah, so wish I could think of that.
I do too.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. It's something.
Well, I like yours as well. How's your coffee holding up?
Well, it's empty.
Oh,
What was different there? What did I do there instead of would I dare touch her coffee? I would not dare touch her coffee. But how did I get the attention back to the coffee and not just using words? What did I do, Rachel? I kind of tapped.
Pointed at it.
I kind of pointed at it. I kind of tapped the table near it. Didn't touch it. Not gonna touch it. And so
There's just, and look, somebody put what they put in there.
that's not right.
Well, no, it's supposed to. What's the other thing you take?
Medicine?
No, well, no, it's just look.
With the water?
See that?
It's
Yeah,
water. With water.
It's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
water. I thought it was gonna be
Coffee.
the coffee, and it isn't. It's just water.
It's just
see it?
It's not right.
Well, it's okay, but I don't much like it.
Yeah. Tifa,
Let's
go get some coffee.
Oh, you know how to get it?
I do.
Oh, well, okay. Wait a minute. Here, you gonna hold that?
So that's the shock of the night, isn't it? So Rachel, what happened in that miraculous moment?
She handed you her coffee cup.
She handed me her coffee cup. Why do you think she did that?
I think because she needed her hands. And so it's like, what do I do with it? Here, hold it.
Yeah, so I'm not an untrustworthy person. So she basically treats me like a piece of furniture and allows me to support the coffee cup while she's using her hands to get up. Am I okay with that? I am okay with that.
Give me a second. I've been here a little bit of time. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's fine, isn't it? But we wanted coffee.
Coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Let's go
okay.
get some.
Well, let's go get some.
Let's go.
Good idea.
Good idea.
And I feel like a successful and skilled human being. So take a minute and drop into the chat. What are some of the things that you noticed I did? Some of the things verbally, some of the things visually, some of the things physically. Yay! Julia gave me a go melody. I feel so loved. So what are some of the visual, verbal, tactile cues that you saw me do? How did I communicate with
So you use the visual cues to help her stand up and pointing at the coffee. You didn't invade her personal space. You met her energy. You had a calm voice. You agreed with her. You took your time. You followed her lead. You followed her thoughts and then directed to the coffee cup. You slowly kept hearing more conversation and built up trust. You talked slowly. You had a soft voice. You respected her space. And you didn't turn your back on her. You didn't try to correct her when she didn't know the word she was looking for either.
you're successful? Yay! And it worked because was anything different about Tipa or was it more different about me? And I'm thinking it's probably going to be both were different, and it came from the way I started and carried through with the interaction. So what we're kind of talking about is the idea of gem states. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm actually going to go back to the PowerPoint. I'm actually going to go back to this slide. And we're going to talk for just a moment about gem states. And I wanted to wait and do this now because we as human beings all have gem states. So this is not just about people living with dementia. This is about us as care partners too. So we use the gem states kind of based on the Allen levels of cognitive decline. And Claudia Allen is an occupational therapist. And then Teepa had the brilliant idea to, instead of using numbers, to use something that we tend to in our culture think of as valuable, which are gems. So I'm going to ask everybody to kind of look at this for a minute. We've got sapphires, diamonds, emeralds, ambers, rubies, and pearls. So sapphires, diamonds, emeralds, ambers, rubies, and pearls. So I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. I'm going to everybody put their hands together like this. So put your hands together like it's your birthday. And you open up your box, and this year for your birthday, you get a sapphire. Are you excited about your sapphire? You're pleased, you're delighted, you're thrilled about your sapphire. Because when we talk about sapphires, we're talking about true blue. We're talking about being able to be flexible, being able to see somebody else's perspective, being able to let go of being right. That's that sapphire gem state. That's a state that I strive for and I work for and I try to stay in, and I do a pretty good job. But there are times when all of us have moments where we slip a little bit. We have our own kind of brain changes. Put your hands back together. It is another birthday. This year, when you open your box for your birthday, in your box is a diamond. And you're like going, diamonds are, drop into the chat some words you would use to describe diamonds. What are some words that you would use to describe diamonds? Diamonds are, what are they? Amazing.
Amazing, shiny, expensive, a girl's best friend, beautiful, forever, glorious, precious, valuable and hard, one of a kind, clear.
They really are.
Multifaceted.
And they are that way when they are in the right setting. So if I have a diamond and it's clean and it's in the light, my diamond is gonna sparkle and glitter, and it's gonna look valuable and expensive, and it's gonna be absolutely amazing. And somebody, I think, dropped in there, or some people dropped in there a couple of other things, which are diamonds are hard. And so diamonds are actually rigid, and they actually are inflexible, because what happens in this diamond state of dementia is people can't get the new information in. And when you can't get new stuff in, what are you left with? You're left with the old stuff. So for people in this diamond gem state, they don't see other people's perspectives. They can't be flexible, created due to pressure. I love that. So diamonds are inflexible, not able to see other people's perspectives. So you kind of saw that with me as a caregiver in some of those other videos. If Teepa didn't give me her cup, then I couldn't get her the coffee. That was kind of the trade-off. And so I was a little rigid, and Teepa was a little rigid as well. So two diamonds is just gonna bump heads. So put your hands back together. This year for your birthday, you get an emerald. And emeralds are beautiful, and green on the stoplight stands for go. So emeralds stand for going. And these are people who are going back into their lives. And these are people who are going with their care. And part of what happens when you're going and you're not really paying attention to what you're going to or for is you start to make a lot of mistakes. And when you start to make these mistakes and you kind of start to get kind of wrapped up in your mistakes, you don't really have a lot of figure out skill how to get that undone. And so the emeralds are people who make a lot of mistakes, and they've still got a lot of skill and a lot of strength, and they also need some support. So these are folks who the support that they need is kind of putting things in the right place at the right time so they can do the right kind of thing. It's another birthday. Put your hands back together. Open them up. This year for your birthday. A little confusing, but it's a piece of amber. And amber isn't necessarily a gem. It's more of a rosin that kind of hearted around an insect. And it really represents the yellow on the stoplight, which stands for caution. And it kind of represents this idea that people in this amber state are really frozen in that moment of time. So these are people who truly have right now, they're the past isn't, the future isn't, it's right now. So when I've got my toilet bowl brush and I'm brushing my hair, what I've got right now is this. I don't have the time when I scolded Rachel for using the toilet bowl brush. All I have is something with a brush, and that's what I've got. So very sensory engaged. They pick things up and work with them and manipulate them and put things in my mouth, and it may not be something that's supposed to be going in my mouth, or it might be, but it might not be. Hands together. It's another birthday. This year, it's a ruby. It's a ruby. But rubies are, for the most part, not always and not forever, but rubies for the most part are red. And red on the stoplight stands for stopping. And so these are people who are really starting to have some things that are stopping. And one of the things that's stopping is, do this with me. These are your skill fingers. So this is why I can use this way. This is how I can use this skill to scoop and to eat holding the spoon this way. I can use this tool as a sapphire, a diamond, an emerald. In an amber, I'm starting to lose a lot of this skill. I might be able to do this, but eventually for the ruby, I've got the strength, but I don't have the skill, because if I've got this, I can't scoop and use it. So that's where a really important skill becomes involved. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm just going to show you a skill. So this is the skill of hand under hand. And so what I would typically do using hand under hand, which is kind of that arm wrestling handshake, what I would do with that, going back to the person that I'm helping here in my house, is use my hand. My person is right-handed. I'm going to use my hand, my person's right hand. I've got the tools in my finger like I would always use them. Sorry, his hand fell apart. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my hands to actually help him. Oh, well, that's not decapitated. I hand-caped something, my person. So I'm now going to use this to kind of support my person instead of just pushing the food at the person. Because what does this, how many of y'all, if something is coming at you like this, are going to open your mouth and put that in your mouth? I'm not thinking I would. So that's that Ruby where they're holding on, not just to think about what doesn't work, but to think about preserved skills, not just thinking about what doesn't work, but holding on with that strength is really important. They may be losing the skill, but they've got that strength and we can use that. So put your hands back together. It's another birthday. So this year, when you open your it's an oyster shell. Not really excited about that because I actually, oyster shells are ugly. They really aren't very pretty. They're gray and they're kind of hard, and there's not a lot of beauty in an oyster shell. I was actually at a fundraiser for an aquarium. There was a little kid who had painted oyster shells. They were hideous. I gave the kid a donation and said to please sell the oyster shell to somebody else because the reality was I didn't want that nasty thing in my house. It wasn't very pretty. And so I opened my box and what I look at and what I see is the oyster shell. And I'm actually pretty disappointed and I'm actually really unhappy and I don't like this. And it's really not good because it's an oyster shell until I make the choice to kind of make that connection. And when I do that, I invest some work and I invest some time. And what will happen is I can open the oyster shell and find that beautiful pearl that's in there. Because if we describe a pearl is, well, what are some of the words you would use to describe a pearl? Drop them in the chat. What are some of the words that you would use to describe a pearl? Not the shell, but the pearl. So drop some of those words in the chat.
Elegant, iridescent, magic, a product of irritation, soft, delicate, lovely, beautiful, off-white, timeless, warm, luminous, pretty, silvery, creamy, beautiful.
So we value pearls. And so when we make that connection, we can really see that pearl of who that person is and who they've always been with their glowing spirit and their soft souls and the joy and the beauty that is them and is within them. But that's our decision. That's our decision of how we are going to make this happen and connect and be in partnership. So I'm going to ask you whether you are, I can't see you, but I can see Rachel. So I'm actually going to ask everybody to put up 5 fingers on each hand. And so when you've got 5 fingers on each hand, now I'm going to ask you to kind of connect them. So for most of you, when you've done that, just drop into the chat. Does that feel comfortable, uncomfortable? Does it feel pretty much okay? How does it feel to you, Rachel? Does that 5 fingers, 5 fingers? Does that feel pretty good?
Feels fine to me.
Yeah, it feels fine. It kind of is balanced. It's kind of balanced for most people. It's kind of okay. So now try something different. So now take 5 fingers on one hand. And now take 3 fingers on the other hand. I don't care. I have no preference which 3 fingers. I'm working on not saying I don't care. I'm trying to say I don't have a preference. I don't have a preference of which fingers you use, but 5 fingers, 3 fingers. And now take those 5 fingers and now put them together and kind of see what you can come up with. Try some different configurations and see how that feels. Kind of play with it, kind of make it. And now kind of drop it in the chat. Is that okay? Or does that feel kind of awkward?
You're missing something. It's awkward.
Doesn't feel balanced. It's weird. It's frustrating. It just, so maybe
Not right. It's not okay.
it's not right. It's not okay. So maybe it's just something about 3 fingers. So put 3 fingers on this hand and put 3 fingers on this hand and now line them up. And kind of how is that feeling? 3 and 3. So Rachel, how does that? So I'm seeing some okays.
That's okay again.
but the 3 and the 3s are feeling okay to people. So that what we're talking about, some of you really identified this with some of your comments earlier. It's really about matching the gem state. It's about matching the person's energy. It's about matching the person's pace. It's about matching the number of words that you're using. It's about matching that relationship is what we have the ability to really do. So what we're striving for is whether the person, is here or whether the person is here, what we want to do is really match, because we have the ability to do that. Because if this is me, no matter how much that person living with dementia tries, they can't match me if all they've got is this. So I need to do this. On the other hand, if they've got this amount of skill and I try to take over, it's not going to work. Or if I just push at them, it's not going to work. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show you one more video. And the video I'm going to show you is about an interaction I had with a lady living with dementia. And so this lady was, her gem state was that she spent a lot of her time in an amber state. She was kind of spending a lot of time in the amber state. She was losing weight. She wasn't eating very well. She was having a lot more difficulty with tools. And so what I had been assigned to do with her was to get her down to the dining room. So I was supposed to get her down to the dining room, in a good mood so she would be able to eat. So let's see what happens.
They make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away.
Okay, how's it going, Rachel? Thumbs up or thumbs down? Thumbs up. So we could take a minute and we could just in that 24 seconds, we could already identify some things about who Susie is as a person. She loves music, her health and fitness. She's able to move pretty well. She's walking pretty well. Her brain changed. She's connected. She's engaged. She's actually functioning probably higher than an amber. She's singing with me. She's walking at the same time. She's paying attention to me. It's going pretty well, but there are 2 problems. One problem is this is a very long haul. And the second problem is I only know one verse of this song, but I know some other things about Susie. I know that Susie grew up as a person of faith, and I know what kind of practices she had. I actually went to the same kind of faith community that she went to. So I knew some things about Susie that I thought were going to work. So I know another song. So let's try another song. What else, Tina? You know Amazing Grace.
Sing grace as we the one like mine. I was lost.
Okay, so that's the problem. Oops, wait a minute. I did something wrong. I think I did 2 things wrong. I think I paused screen sharing, so I need to go back and do that. I think that was the main thing I did was I paused screen sharing instead of pausing the video. So I'm going to go back just a couple of seconds.
You know Daisy?
That's not quite far enough. Okay, so Rachel, thumbs up, thumbs down. Going well or not?
No, we're not doing as well on this one.
We're not doing as well. So I chose that song for a reason. I chose that song because I grew up in the same kind of church that Susie did. And we sang this song a lot at the end of the service, and people would walk down the aisle and then we would go have lunch. And so it made good sense to me to sing this song, but it's also used at a lot of funerals. So Susie now is starting to grieve. And that's part of life. And that's something that happens. And it's not very helpful for getting Susie down to the dining room and getting her to be able to have a good lunch. So thankfully I know one more song.
You know Daisy? Daisy, give me your recipe. I'm half crazy, all for the love of you. It might reestablish marriage. I can't afford a carriage, but you look sweet upon the seat of a bicycle built for two. You're flirting. Yeah, I can help you.
So Susie went from starting out as usually an amber, but in an emerald state. I took her down to a ruby, and then we actually ended up as maybe even a sapphire. Because in that moment, Susie singing the song about courting and love, noticed the camera man. And so at this point, I'm going to get Susie down to the dining room. Susie is going to eat well. It's all going to end up well for her. So dang it, we are out of time. And Carl, in one of your emails you sent me, you said, time goes fast, and time does go fast. And so I didn't necessarily specifically answer the question about medication or some of the other things. And I hope I've left you with some ideas and some skills and approaches, whether it's approaching someone to give them their medication. It really is all about those skills and connection. And so thank you so much. You know, we can make more friends, and we can make more family, and we can make more money, but what we can't make is more time. So thank you for investing your precious time in this program for this important group of people and this important opportunity to be together. So I'll turn it back over to Carl, and I'm going to stop talking.
Oh, thank you so much. I feel like we should clap for something, but we'll have a Zoom clap. And I see all the thank you coming in for all your knowledge and your practical tips and your energy and dynamicism. I think I messed up that word, but and thank you as well, Rachel, too. That was really awesome. And wow, lots of stuff going in the chat. People clapping along with us. Yeah, definitely fantastic. And I'm just going to put in the chat here the post-session evaluation. And just as a reminder, like if you want to get a certificate of attendance, you got to complete the post-session evaluation. If you don't have time to complete it tonight, I'll email it out to all of you as well. And I'll send out the recording of this and the slide deck as well. Oh, What lovely comments. Thanks, Ariel. Yeah, someone asked, will we be sent a replay? I missed the beginning. Yeah, we'll send the recording off to everyone by email. And someone else is asking if we get certificates again. Yeah, so just I'll put it in the chat again here. I know sometimes it's getting a little lost in all the thank yous to Rachel and Melanie. Yeah, if you just click that link, it'll bring you to SurveyMonkey, and then fill that out. At the bottom, you kind of put your name, your email, and then I'll send you the certificates of attendance in a few weeks or so. All right. Oh, thank you. Thanks again, Melody and Rachel. You can unmute if you want to say bye, but
Thank y'all so much for being such good sports. Thanks, Rachel. It's always fun hanging out with you.